we made a mistake. Maybe. We sold our rep dumbbells and we already have regret. These are supposed to be better, and in some ways, they genuinely are. But within the first workout, 2 problems right out of the gate. We had 2 issues with the reps we just couldn't get past. The cage design never felt right, and having to adjust a pop pin on each end every time you changed weight, one on the left, one on the right. We were just done with it. And the cradle issues. If you've owned reps and trained heavy, you already know. So we found these, the Trulap 8592 G4. 8.5 to 92 pounds, center handle, you twist, change weights, done. And micro increments the whole way. No big jumps, just small steps, perfect for progressive overload. We knew the twist adjustments was slow going through the whole range. We made that trade-off on purpose. The center handle and micro increments were worth it. And then we started actually using them. Trulap describes the handle on these dumbbells on their own product page as, and I'm reading this directly, expertly remastered volcano knurling that provides a natural barbell feel and ensuring a secure grip. We want to be very clear about what we actually experienced. We have used budget dumbbells with rubber handles that grip better than these do. The very first time Jeff ever picked these up at 92 pounds, not after weeks of use, not after the handles worn in, not mid-workout when his hands were sweaty, the absolute first lift off the tray, he reached for grip assistance. Not because he couldn't handle the weight, because he wasn't confident the dumbbell would stay in his hand. First rep, ever, grip assistance on a $799 dumbbell. Expertly mastered volcano knurling, ensuring a secure grip. We're gonna need Trulap to explain that one. If you want to hear how this plays out when Trulap gets back to us, hit subscribe. We'll follow up. Okay, this one hurt a little because the cradle situation with our reps was a big part of why we left them. That's not a secret. Rep cradle issues are well documented. If you've owned them and trained heavy, there's a good chance you've dealt with it. Plates catching, re-rack being inconsistent, that heavy friction on every heavy set. So we did our research. We picked the Trulap specifically because it uses a different system and when we make the switch. First workout, first time we ever pulled these off the tray at 92 pounds. The cradle comes with it. Not occasionally, not after a few weeks, the very first pull, and every single pull after that at full weight, unless we had just sprayed the cradle with silicone. The silicone spray works until it dries, and then you're right back at the same problem. We looked into this, and it's a known issue. The plastic cradle is lightweight, and at maximum load, there's enough friction at the contact points that it partially lifts every time you pull the dumbbell out. It's not a fluke on our unit. Other people are experiencing it too. The workarounds right now are pretty unsatisfying. Option 1, don't use 92 pounds so the end plates always stay seated in the cradle. That's it. Just don't use the top of the range you paid for. Option 2, strap the cradles to the Delta Rack trays the same way you see cradles secured on budget dumbbell sets, which works, but we didn't spend this kind of money on a setup that looks like it came from a $200 dumbbell kit. And just so you understand what this actually looks like in practice, Jeff pulls the dumbbell out at 92 pounds and the cradle comes with it. From there, you've got a few options, none of them good. You could make sure someone else is around to physically force the cradle back off the dumbbell before the set, which I had to do for Jeff. You can set it back down, try to knock the cradle loose and pull again, or Jeff actually having to do this, I saw it in real time, you just do your shrugs with the cradle still attached and hanging off the end of the dumbbell. That last one sounds funny until you realize it happened because it was easier than fighting the cradle between every set. And for what it's worth, the cradle has come off mid-rep once. One side dropped, The other side stayed on. So there's that. We've reached out to Trulap and we're waiting to hear back. Until then, neither workaround feels acceptable for an $800 set of dumbbells. We switched dumbbells because of a cradle problem. And from the very first rep with the Trulaps, we had a different cradle problem at the exact same weight. Here's the thing though, outside of those two issues, this dumbbell does a lot right. The center handle twist adjustment is exactly what we wanted. Fast, intuitive, no fiddling. You put it down, you twist, you pick it up at a new weight. That's the whole workflow. The build quality feels solid. These are not cheap. Metal plates, substantial construction, 3-year warranty. They're not going to fall apart. And at weights below the top end, which covers the majority of our actual training sessions, the experience is good. The adjustment speed makes supersets and drop sets genuinely faster. The range of available weights is wider than most adjustable dumbbells we've used. If the cradle issue was resolved and the knurling was a little more aggressive, this would be an easy recommendation. That's how close it is.
In a Newton transcription, that close.
Let's talk about the rack, because this deserves its own moment. The Synergy Custom Fitness Delta Adjustable Dumbbell Rack, $839. Ours is in Synergy Blue, and it looks great in the space. That part was intentional. We wanted a setup that actually looked like something, not just a generic black stand in the corner. And we want to be clear, this is a separate product from the dumbbells, and it stands completely on its own. 3x3 inch, 11 gauge steel upright. This is power rack territory in terms of build spec. It's not going anywhere. Rubber feet on the base, no sliding, no floor damage. One thing worth calling out, honestly, is that there's a slight wobble in the upright. The triangle base plates are designed to stabilize it, and they do. But if you're expecting absolutely zero movement, you will notice it. It's not affected our use at all. It's not a safety issue. And you can see it in other review videos on this rack if you go looking. We just wanted to mention it because we noticed it and we'd rather you hear it from us. What makes this different from a standard dumbbell stand is two things. First, the arm height. The entire shelf assembly moves up and down the upright, so you can set the pickup height exactly where you want it for your body. No bending down, no awkward angle on the pull. And the range is basically the full height of the upright. If for some reason you want the arms at the very bottom so you're pulling off the floor, you can do that too. You decide. Second, the shelf spread. The two shelf arms pivot outward, going from 16 inches wide all the way to 29 inches wide. That's not just about fitting different dumbbell sizes, it's about how close you can actually get to the weight before you pick it up. Open the arms wide enough and you can step right into the rack, get directly over the dumbbells, and pull from a much more natural position. If you've ever fought with a stand that forces you to reach forward and yank at an awkward angle, you'll understand immediately why this matters. The upright also accepts accessories: landmines, battle rope anchors, barbell holders, plate holders, kettlebell shelves, all on the exact same footprint. And because it's 3x3 inch 11 gauge upright with 1 inch hole spacing, it's essentially an open system. We've already got our 4-6 kettlebell storage mounted on top of ours. Not a Synergy accessory, just something we already had that fits perfectly. That's the point. A quality upright spec means you're not locked into one brand ecosystem. We're not running full-size plates on it yet, but we can. And that's exactly why we went with the tallest version, the Delta. Not because we need all 70 inches of upright right now, but because we want the options down the road. Buying for where you're going, not just where you are. This rack comes in 12 colors: black, white, gray, red, blue, Synergy blue, orange, yellow, military green, military tan, hot pink, and purple. We went with Synergy blue. It's fairly close to the blue of our rep benches. Not a perfect match, but close enough that the whole setup reads as intentional rather than random. If you've been trying to build a home gym that actually has a look to it, having that kind of choice does matter. Honestly, no complaints on the rack. It's exactly what it says it is, and it looks the part. So back to the dumbbells. The adjustment system is everything we wanted. Center handle, one motion, done. No cage, no pop pins on both ends. That part of the switch was absolutely the right move. We're not going back to the old workflow. But we traded one cradle problem for another, and that stings, because that was the whole reason we went looking for something new. If Trulap comes back to us with a real fix for the cradle, great, we'll post it. But that doesn't touch the knurling. The handles would need to be replaced entirely. That's a whole separate conversation we haven't had with them yet. So that issue isn't going away anywhere anytime soon. We've got links to both products below. We'll update you when Trulap gets back to us. For now, let's keep lifting.
So I've got the fix that we promised you that came from Trulap when we reached out. They finally got back and they sent me a video. Why the video is not easily found on their website is beyond me. Should be one of the #1 things, because if you Google, we've shown you the issue. So you take your cradle, you flip it over, and there are 3 screws on the end of each end. There's one here and then 2 down in here. You loosen them or you take them out. Then what you can do is you can actually slide the end of the cradle out a little bit, and you can probably see these parts moving around. That is going to take out all of the tightness, so you can actually set the cradle for your dumbbells. Kind of a pain in the ass, but it's definitely better than lifting them up and having the stupid things attached to your dumbbells. But that is the fix.